Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear colleagues, good morning. It's an honor for us to have Dr. Hani Fauzi today as our guest lecturer. He will give us a lecture about the role of RCOG as a global partner for women's health. And before we hear his lecture, allow me to read his brief CV. He was born in Khartoum, Sudan. He is currently RCOG Vice President for Global Health. He serves as consultant in obstetrics and gynecology in South Tyneside NHS Foundation Trust with 17 years of specialist expertise in reproductive and sexual health. He is the lead clinician in gyn cancer and have considerable teaching training experience as well as a 14-year leadership administrative role as the Director of Medical Education. Dr. Hani, the time and place are yours.
Journeys to come after this. I bring with me some greetings, fraternal regards from the President of the Royal College. It's a lady, by the way, Professor Leslie Regan, and she's the first lady that we have as President of our college for the last 64 years. It has always been men, 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 men. But anyhow, hopefully, working with my boss, I learned a lot of things about women as leaders, and I'm so pleased that I came today and I've seen lots of leaders, and I hear your head of department, your dean, these are ladies, and I'm sure that is the future. One thing for the men, I can assure you one thing, men behave better when women are leaders. And I hope that in itself will give us an incentive to really improve ourselves. Great. What I thought I'm going to be doing, if I'm talking too fast, please tell me. I'm really hopeful that this is going to be a two-way process. I'm not going to give you a lecture and tell you how wonderful we are, but I want to take this as an opportunity to explain to you a bit about the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, what we have in common, what are our credentials, why do we think we are royal, big, important, and whatever it is, why do we have this standing, and then share with you something that hopefully build the bridges to become genuine partners. We believe strongly that we all in this room have got the same objective, to serve our women. And trust me, that is a purpose that we really want to implement. And we want to be pioneers and support you in doing it in different ways. So I'm going to start with a presentation that hopefully tells you a bit about our credentials, then go through some elements that relate to our how we can help, how we can support. I'll talk about distant learning packages, franchising courses, training, preparing for membership exams, and then we have got one new development known as associate members of our college, that you can get almost all what we have without being a member, without having to be going to the exam route, so to speak. But at least you'll have the knowledge base that helps you to develop in your own way in Indonesia. I'll share with you something, if you like, about the exams, the MRCOG exams. I know they have been here in Indonesia for some time, and I'm very pleased that they are in this center. I can talk to you about the training programs that we have for twinning, a medical training initiative that you can come into the UK. And more important than all this, hopefully we're going to have an opportunity that you ask me any question that you have, and we take it from there. And I hope that this is not going to be just a presentation, a day, and that's the end of the story. I hope it's really a beginning of something that I promise you, we would like to see it fulfilling itself a bit further. Okay, so the first thing I thought I'm going to be doing is our credentials. We as a college, we stop there. One of the things that we pride ourselves very much in as a college is that we have only one Royal College. If we know of our other colleagues in surgery, in medicine, in other specialties, there is one in Ireland, there is one in Edinburgh, in Glasgow, in Scotland, but we have only one Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. And that gives us a great advantage that we are really speaking with one voice. I know in this part of the world you might have your closest Royal College is the Australian, and with all respect, not in any way trying to be in competition with them, we have a very mutual support with our Australian college, and we work very, very closely together. One of the things that we pride ourselves in is that we have about 16,000 members. And you can see these are people who have been through the exams. More than 8,000 of these are residing and working outside the United Kingdom in about 100 countries. So we're truly a global college. Yes, our headquarters is in the UK, but we are spread as members and fellows throughout the world. And that is really a unique position to be in. Many of our members are quite influential members in the society. They work very closely with the Minister of Health. Some are Ministers of Health, and some are definitely taking positions of authority and leadership, be it through the ministry or through the university route, so to speak. As a college, we develop and share standards in postgraduate medical education, and we support women by providing this scientific information. And I'm going to come back to this all throughout the presentation. You're going to see that we are, as a receptacle of knowledge, we're not keeping it to ourselves. We're very keen that it is out there to genuinely make a difference in women's lives. We collaborate with a number of bodies, be it NGOs, ministries of health, universities, other societies, professional societies, or universities. So we have got lots of examples in this area. And here is our strength. I am sure, I bet most of you in this room, if I tell you green top guideline, you will know what I'm talking about. And any country I travel to, if I just mention a green top, does anybody know why they're called green top? Anybody wants to make a guess? It's not a very tricky question, by the way. The honest answer? We don't know. The very first notes that came, the first guidelines, the secretary decided to put the title in green. And that was it. We stuck with that secretary's simple thing of putting the first title in green, and now all of them are green, and we know them very fondly as green top guidelines. Another element that we're very proud of is our continuous professional development. Yes, you train your residency. I understand you have 9 semesters. But is that the end of the story? What happens after that? We're very keen on continuous professional development in a genuine and sincere way. We have a portfolio, a portal of this information that helps you to reflect and learn as you carry on going. And I'll share more about this because that's one of the first vehicles that we're so proud of, that we have introduced this new grade of membership known as associates, and that central part of the CPD is there in it. We have over 70 conferences and courses every year. Yes, they're mainly based in the UK, but we share them out to the world through webinars, through web access, so virtually you can have access to these. And interestingly enough, as associates, now you can have them all for free, whatever is on the net. And we're trying to establish something of centers dialing in and watching these as it happens, and so they can have the opportunity of asking questions as well. Our British Journal of Obs and Gynae has an impact factor more than 5, something we're very, very proud of, and has over 1 million article views per year. There is this quarterly talk, we call it, the Obstetrician and Gynecologist. It's a journal that is issued every quarter, and in it there are some topics that is really so varied across every edition that you really accumulate your points, your CPD points, through answering certain questions. And then we have this another platform that we're so proud of called RCOG, Structured Training in Obstetrics and Gynecology. There are many modules electronically, and you can learn through them a lot. They help you mostly in preparing you to become a specialist, but even as an ongoing, a life learning process. We have then, for those who are interested to go with research, a world-class library that really provides a lot of access to journals that are specific to our specialty, online courses and databases. You can have access to all these through online. So you can see how we genuinely support the profession as a whole, and it's not just unique in any particular way to one country. One of the things that we're really genuinely keen on, as I mentioned, is that these concepts of lifelong learning. It's not something that we will want to do just a one-off. We're sincere about our efforts to make this a partnership that is ongoing. From the exam perspective, we have about 5,000 people every year taking our exams. 2/3 of these are outside the UK. And we have 30 exam centers that I'll show you in a minute where these centers are. But obviously, as you can understand, that's one of the reasons why I'm here for today's exam in Indonesia. And our competency really spans through all our specialty, from all different aspects of subspecialties, academic, and so on. So even the people, when they get their MRCOG, it does not stop there. In the UK, and especially as the MRCOG exam in its entirety, that's part 1, part 2, and part 3, it is not an exit exam. You're not a specialist, but it's just one step that helps you to maintain and follow on with advanced learning. And this is another area that we are happy to support you. Should people do their own local degrees, different boards in different areas, how can you, when you have become a specialist, how can we carry on supporting you for the next step to specialize in one area or the other? We have done these to what we know as, we call as advanced fellowship programs. Okay, so how can we help? I put here 4 points. I'll go very quickly through them, but hopefully I'm going to stop at the end of this 4th point and then perhaps see where you want to take it with questions and answers, and then I'll be happy to take one step further about one particular area that you want me to go a bit more deeper into. Franchising courses. What does franchising mean? All the courses that happen in the UK, we're more than happy to bring them here in Indonesia. We set up an agreement on how you set up the price, how much it feels. You set up the faculty. We start with, but we're very keen to train you to take on the project. It's not something that we want to maintain all throughout. So as much as we help you to help others, we train you to train others. We are keen to start with on training a local faculty that will take on this responsibility and spread the message to other parts of Indonesia and so on locally. A distance learning programs, this is mainly to support people who want to pass the exams. We have got an enhanced training program. I'll show you some details of what that entails. For now, this is mainly for part 2 exams. So you have to have done your part 1 on your own, but I don't see why we cannot do these similarly for part 1 as well. Training partnerships, how there is this training and a twin track of how a trainee will learn, but equally how a trainer will learn, and how this twin track will support for the long sustainable sort of program effectiveness. And the last point is this associate, and I'm sure you have heard me saying about this associate so far several times, but hopefully you can see this might be an opportunity for some of you aspiring to take the exams, a great opportunity, but even those of you who have completed their training, parts of faculty, they're trainers already, you will see that these associate membership can give you recourse to a lot of material that not only will help you to develop yourself, to serve the women, but equally helps you to help others by teaching and training them. Okay, let me just go then very quickly through this. The franchising concept, for now, we've got these two main things. One relates to the MRCOG preparation, and another area which we feel very important is skills. The main skills that we're talking about are basic practical skills, surgical skills. Obstetrics, I'm sure, attracts all of us to the specialty to start with. Even for those of us who then tend to specialize in gynecology or reproductive endocrinology, have in one way or another been attracted to the specialty by obstetrics. If I were to make a guess, in Indonesia, your biggest problem is about maternal mortality. Here is something that we feel we want to concentrate a lot on. And part of these practical training skills, in as much as there is some training to become a good surgeon, we equally concentrate on how you can look after emergencies in obstetrics. So here the franchise includes the partners and the medical school, and we have done these now in 42 centers for the basic practical skills and 10 centers for the examination perspective. And you can see some of the countries that are named there. I'm sure you're reading a lot faster than me. So how we work these, as I said, all what we want from you. You set up the course. It is not about money, trust me. And I'll be very honest about this. It is not a sales pitch. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Your objective is our objective. We want together to serve women. From a perspective of this franchising, 70% of the expenses are yours. It stays in the country. But understandably, for us to develop the material and to update it and keep it up to date is something that costs money as well. As much as the initial cost of helping someone to come and give you a hand to start that sort of concept. Here for the preparation courses, we have got separate ones for part 1, part 2, part 3. And here the two main courses that relate to the skills, the basic practical skills, and another one which we call robust, the RCOG operative vaginal birth simulation training, are aspects of an emergency obstetric training package. Helps you with instrumental deliveries, assisted vaginal deliveries, as well as cesarean sections, as well as other techniques of fetal blood sampling and so on. Okay. The second element was about these distance learning packages. We can have these enhanced revision training courses. For now, we're doing them for part 2. The idea is that we have a mentor, a trainer, a coach in the UK. The trainees come in a special place, a room like this, and there is this interaction between the two. It takes about an hour to 2 hours every week over 15 weeks. And it's something that I feel has done a great success, improved the success rate of people taking their part 2 exams. It's something that I would like to encourage you. I'm going to leave these slides behind, and I'm sure you can have access to them at any point to get some more details about how we go through these. This is just the structure. It's a 15 weeks virtual classroom, and that's one of the things about the exams themselves. I'll be honest enough to say that the exam is still a British exam. Yes, it's international. Yes, many people take it, but it helps you to understand a bit more about the NHS. This course will teach you the things that happen in the UK that you would not have been exposed to. Helps you to understand what consent means in the context of a system. And many other things that are more relative to the British National Health Service. There are questions that are very common. And here's our vision just about an overall thing. And I wanted just to now move on to the next bit, that for you just to have an idea about where this training happens. And let you understand a bit more about our system. We have got a run-through system that is 7 years training. But before that, there's a couple of years that you spend out as a foundation program. I'm sure you do them here as a pre-registration house officer. Year 1 is 1 or 2 years in Indonesia. 2 years foundation. So you can see between ST1 and ST2, before you go into ST3, you have to have cleared part 1 exams. Again, 3, 4, and 5. Before you go to year 6, you have to have cleared your part 2 and now part 3. We have just introduced the part 3 just last year. So this is our structured training. And this advanced training, where there is year 6 and 7, is where we do these advanced fellowships. We call them in the UK advanced training modules. They help us to understand and somehow subspecialize, take one particular area and go a bit more in depth. Be it the 4 standard subspecialties, or we have got another 17 of them that really extend into aspects that perhaps can be as small as being an expert in ultrasound, or assisted delivery, or a leader, or medical education, and so on and so forth. This is our twin track perspective, and how we can see we help the trainers and the trainees. And the idea of having this twin track is really help you in as much as a trainee will benefit in many, many aspects. But I am sure your teachers will tell you the best way to learn is to teach. Because you assume this certain responsibility. When you are passing knowledge, you become having more responsibility to make sure that it is the right form. And here the twinning aspects, in as much as it relates to both aspects exactly doing the same, but we are keen that this becomes a sustainable process by which you carry on doing this on your own, in your own country, and you will be able to adapt it and develop it to suit your culture and your people. That brings me to the last bit that I'm going to stop at and take any questions, but I'll be happy to go on talking about the exams, about this training opportunities in the UK, if you want. And this is what I would like you to think of as a very genuine, serious option of taking this on. To become an associate is a process by which everything that a member who has done the exams in their continuous professional development has, as an associate, you will have it as well. Does that make sense? It's as simple as this. What are these things that we're talking about? You will have immediately an access to a very big area in our website that is password protected, that gives you access to the RCOG that we talked about, these 97 modules, electronic modules, that really with videos and animation will help you a lot to capture some complicated aspects of the specialty. You have this CPD perspective, the TOG, the Training, the Obstetrician and Gynecologist magazine, and helps you to log in your input and develop your development plan, create a development plan, follow it for yourself. And it's something, to be honest, we have, I think in Indonesia, I understand there are already 5 people who have become associates. And I don't have the names on me, but I'm told that somebody has, through whichever meeting, perhaps in Brisbane, when we had a meeting last year, people have joined in. I know a good number of you might be going to Singapore in March for our World Congress. That might be another opportunity. But if you are interested in this area, I'm happy to take some more questions about it. But if you just go to our website, you can just register on the website. A couple of things just to share with you. Our World Congresses is an opportunity for networking. The next one, the immediate next one is March in Singapore. Here's an opportunity for you to come to London next year in June. And the year after that is going to be in Oman. Let me stop here for now. And then perhaps ask me any questions you have. Does that make sense? I know I can carry on talking, but please.
Thank you. We eager to know about the passing rate of the Part 1 exam. That it is this year it is 4 times that Part 1 exam in Indonesia. And before we send our resident to Singapore and Malaysia. And Myanmar and Bangladesh have in advance before. Also Sudan and many of Middle East countries, include Africa, Sudan. And if we see the passing rate of them, like Myanmar and Bangladesh, it's also high, very high. And we want to know, do you have any idea about what they do? So it's the same with us as developing countries, that they can the student pass the Part 1 exam is so high.
Sure.
Yeah, Sudan also, I think.
Sure. If I got the question right, why other centers have got this high pass rate and perhaps Indonesia is not as high? Let me just give you some figures so that you understand, perhaps in context. If we look at Hong Kong, the pass rate is over 90% every time, consistently. If you look at in the Gulf, the pass rate is about 15%, roughly, on averages. Does that mean that people perhaps should not go on for the exam in the Gulf and go to Hong Kong? If the same people who take it in the Gulf go to Hong Kong, the physical space, the geography of Hong Kong is not going to make them pass. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So just having a pass rate of that high in one particular locality does not mean that this locality is just lucky. On a very serious note, to take the exam, there are 2 components to it. One is your database, is your knowledge. And I'm convinced that whatever you're doing here in Indonesia is strong, is good. The database is strong. The other part to the passing an exam is technique. It's about time management. It's about understanding the context of the exam, the context of the practice of obstetrics and gynecology in the UK, to have an understanding of the structures of the UK. And this is something that I'm sure for those who have taken the exam is a recurring theme. Many of the questions assume that you are familiar with the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK. Familiar with the training. I just shown you what's a run-through program. If it starts telling you that an ST3, if you don't know what's an ST3, you're stuck. So part of preparing for the exam, the database of knowledge, I'm almost certain that there should not be any problem in Indonesia with the knowledge, but how you apply it is going to be something that perhaps people can have through courses, a better understanding of the NHS, a better understanding of the technique of how to oblige in a short time, how to manage your time. I don't feel that there's anything more to it. I don't think there's any more trick to it. One thing that I'm very proud of in our college is that there is a clear curriculum. And that is something that I'm so proud of. I traveled quite a lot. And I've been supporting a number of boards to set up their own exams. But when I go as an external examiner or whatever, and look into how do they set their exams, many places, the curriculum is even very rudimentary, very basic. For us, the curriculum drives the whole process. The next bit of this is how we do our blueprinting for the exam. We have got 19 modules in our Ops and Gynae. How these 19 modules are in a blueprint, really all assessed in our exam, in every diet of the exam. And I could go and show you some of our modules and how we do this blueprinting. It's something that we're too proud of, and it's a methodical process that I'm sure people who have been through medical education will understand exactly what I'm talking about. The other element relates to standard setting, how each diet has its own pass mark. No two similar exams have the same pass rate. And how we reach that standard setting, depending on the difficulty of the exam, in each diet on its own. These are sort of, medical education has become very professional. And that aspect really applies in all what we do with the exams. So we're happy to share these aspects with you. I'm not sure if it helps that if you start setting your own questions, you might be better understand and prepared to answer them. Does that make sense? Yes. If you set your own questions, if you understand how the question is set, it helps you to answer it as well.
Maybe our problem is like
Guangzhou in China.
China is the same because the passing rate of Guangzhou and Indonesia might be still the same because it's a problem of language. Another countries that Middle East, Korea, Egypt, all within British before, but China and also Indonesia not familiar with English daily language. I think do you have an idea of Guangzhou and Indonesia can improve the?
I think we're doing with China. Hopefully, it's going to move from Hangzhou to the capital city. It's about, I accept the language can be an issue. I entirely accept that, yes. In China, we have done a lot of more serious work. We accept that language might be a barrier, a big barrier. Whether we do the exams in Chinese language, Cantonese or whatever, Mandarin, or it's something that we're thinking of, if I'm honest with you. But I'm sure you're aware as well, there are many universities in China that are British-based. English language is their main Franco-lingua, so to speak. And language is an issue, and I accept that. I'm not going to try and belittle it. But I didn't see any problem with your language here, to be honest with you. The people I talk to have got very good English language. And I'm sure you taught in English in medical school, isn't it?
No, Indonesian.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Perhaps I'm thinking about other factors, about the motivation, internal motivations, where when you mention some countries that you know, the as the test place, yeah, most of them are Commonwealth countries. Like for example, Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a previously,
yes.
yeah.
Sure.
And that is one of the motivations for them for passing the exam, I think, yeah. While in a place like in Indonesia, it is the benefit is not directly. The benefit is not directly. Although we try to pull the quality up to follow the RCOG, because the college, our college, the national college, is already based and referred to the RCOG.
I agree with you, and I think this applies to many walks in life and many other aspects of life. What motivates you to get the MRCOG is something that is, I think, in as much as we can talk about the language and other things that we can solve, this is where it becomes too personal and individual. And I'm sure a bit of it, if I may say, is national, how there is that sort of narrative that builds up to accept the pride of being joining a club like this is
Yeah.
something that has advantages.
Yeah.
But with all respect, no pain, no gain. They go together.
Yeah.
And there is a price to pay. And it's not that we're trying to make it any easier. When we're discussing this associate, it's not making it any less, but we're cognizant, we're understanding of how, for whatever other factors, your national college here is, I'm sure, a good one, is relevant for Indonesia, without any doubt. It's fit for purpose for Indonesia, but when you want to become part of the international market, international world sort of game, and up your game, so to speak, that is where there is a bit of an edge that you have to make an effort to get into. We want not to bring people down to a common denominator, but hopefully we raise the standards. One thing that we are so proud about as well is that our standard is the same, be it in the UK, be it in the Gulf, be it in Hong Kong, and be it in Indonesia. We don't want to bring any lower down standard that is good enough for this country. So a less or the lower class sort of quality.
Agree. When you mention about part 2 and part 3 exam, is that an exit exam?
No, MRCOG has never been an exit exam. MRCOG has never been an exit exam. In the UK itself, it's not an exit exam. It's an exam that, I won't say an entry, but perhaps if I want to use the word entry, it's an entry to subspecialization. It's an entry to consultancy. But it is not an exit. You do not practice independently in the UK if you get the MRCOG exam. Because there is something that is very fundamental. The exam, as it stands, is one element of a training program where there is work-based assessments that are regular, week in, week out. To move from year 1 to year 2, there is a very rigorous process. There's a matrix of what, as year 1, what are you supposed to achieve before you go to year 2. There is an annual record of clinical progression. It's a very serious process by which you have to produce a number of evidence to help you move from year 1 to year 2. It's not seamless. And as you have seen in the program, in the structure that I've shown you, you have to pass part 1 between year 2 and 3. You cannot go into year 3 before you have passed your part 1. Even you can see there is a program. Getting to year 5, you're still a trainee. You cannot go to year 6 without the full membership. And as such, you can see straight away that the MRCOG is part of a process on which the work-based assessments that happen regularly is equally, if not more important. Does that make sense? Does that answer you?
Is there any case where people cannot pass the part 2 and part 3? So what happened to that?
If you don't do the part, if you cannot
Pass.
If you cannot pass, okay, there is, I thought that's what you were going to ask me earlier on when you started saying the number of times. There are no number of times for people outside the UK. There are no number of times. It's frequent flyers, yeah? When you travel a lot more, you get more air miles. On a serious note, if you do not pass, you're given 6 times in the UK. If after 6 times you fail, you're out of the program.
So you cannot continue to the...
You do not continue to become a specialist.
What do they get?
There is a service grade. You can just provide a service at a lower level, but you're not a specialist.
Oh, okay.
You cannot practice independently.
But they are also assigned as OG, but in the...
Yes, but they're not specialists.
Okay.
They are
not specialists?
They're not specialists.
Okay, so then the specialist is after the 7th.
The specialist has to get the MRCOG and do 2 more years after that.
2 more years. Yeah.
Any other questions? Would you like to tell me something?
candidates that already passed the part one exam, like studies, to take the up to exam. If the need of the center training evaluation or it is only just pass the part one exam.
Sure. If you have, let me then perhaps I'll take you through some, I'll run through some more slides. I'll show you a bit about the exams, and then I'll show you about an opportunity that exists. If you cleared your part one in Indonesia, you can come to the UK and spend 2 years in what we know as MTI, Medical Training Initiative, which helps you a lot to pass your part 2 and 3. Shall I go through that?
Yeah.
Let me go through this very quickly so that you'll have an opportunity, at least if you're going to take the slide later on, to understand what is going to be on them. So here we talk about this international exam. I just shared with you about 5,000 people take our exams every year. Here are the centers that take the exams. The ones that are highlighted, you can see Indonesia. I'm not sure if they're too small print, but Indonesia is somewhere here on the left, and we do it only once a year, and it is only part one so far. But hopefully, with time, we'll have more people who would want to take the part 2 exams as well. But these are the centers, 30 centers that we run our exams in. Here are the 3 exams. The first 2 parts are written, 1 and 2. And you can see here is the center where we have this in the UK. That's a very special hall. For some of you, you might know that we're going to be moving our place. We bought a different place that we have to change this one because this is not a free hall. But that's quite majestic. This is a place, the hall, where you get your membership certificate ceremony. It's quite unique. Okay. I have moved through this very quickly, but this is basically part 1. There are 2 papers. There are 100 questions, single best answers, straightforward. And this is, each paper is carries the same weight like the other. Each paper is 2.5 hours. That's what we're having this afternoon. Here, part 2, there are 2 papers as well. There are again 100 questions, some single best, and others are extended matching questions. And the idea of these extended matching questions, they really apply your knowledge. They test in the taxonomy of your assessment. It's a bit higher than just factually collecting the sort of details. That being the case, our EMQs, although there are 50 EMQs, they weigh a bit more. We give them 60% of the value to pass the exam, as opposed to the SPAs, which is only 40%. So as such, for those people who are taking part of the time management, it will help them to understand that you need to spend a bit more time on your EMQs than your SPAs. That's just a tip that goes to the exam. Then we have our part 3, which we have just only 2 guys already in the UK. This is what I discussed with you earlier, the curriculum. That is so important. That is really the heart of the whole engine of this machine. Knowing exactly the modules. I'm confident that you have a similar exercise here in Indonesia at your national college. But the details that go under this, and I'll show you one example. For example, here in module 6, it's not much. It goes a bit more details, not just the title, but what is it exactly the skills that you expect it to be acquiring. And you can see a bit more of this on the website. That is the part 1, the 200 questions I just talked to you about. And you can see to that curriculum how your part 1 assesses certain modules, and paper 2 assesses completely different other modules. When you come to part 2, again the same concept with 100 questions, and half hour of such as half hour gynecology, roughly, not necessarily exactly the same. Sometimes it's a bit more on one or the other. And the part 2 is really, this is the technique of EMQs. And in all fairness, if we are running a course, we will help you to understand how these questions are built, are synthesized, and we encourage you to synthesize your own questions. And in doing this, to be honest, you become your own person as if you are the examiner. You put yourself in the shoes of the examiner. What are they looking for? And there is a specific technique to how you answer these. And if you start straight away going to a list of the questions, for example, here's an example. The options, you can see, for example, here there is 10, 12 options. There is a leading instructions for what you should be looking for, and then an item with a scenario. If you're going to go through all these list of options to start with, you're going to be so confused. And there is a technique to how you answer these sort of questions. How you should really start in with the leading, understand exactly what's the lead-in, look at the item, study the item, think of the item, and then make your own. These aspects that relates to some possible infections. The options you can see are usually clustered around a theme, so to speak. But we help you is going through the course, understanding these a bit more. That was the answer to this question. And here is just explaining exactly what the technique that we do. I want to go through these relatively quickly, but I want to share with you a bit more about. I talked about this standard setting, and one thing that happens here before that is the blueprinting. Okay. This is the last thing I want to share with you about what are the opportunities of training in the UK. We call this as an MPI scheme, Medical Training Initiative. And in summary, it's about a 2 years program. People go into a higher level at ST3 to ST5. And if you have been smart enough, obviously you'll see in a minute, the requirements is to have part 1 and training in obs and gynae for 4 years in your country. And then you can see that if you are smart enough, you can pass your part 2 quickly and then move on to have an advanced training opportunity, an advanced module within your time in the UK for 2 years. These are fully paid jobs, and you are paid exactly like every other colleague, and the government allows this part of its development program to help people from developing countries progress and share that sort of development. And it's not only done by our college, but all the other colleges do exactly the same. So there are physicians, anesthetists, and surgeons, and so on. For our criteria, you can see they are very simple, straightforward. Part 1, that is an essential criteria. But then more importantly is this last one, where you have to have your exam, the IELTS exams. And you need to have an overall score of 7.5, or we have to have an element of 7 in 1 or 2 domains, but overall 7.5 is required. Do people know about this IELTS?
Yes.
Yeah? Do you take the IELTS or anything else? No, unless you're coming to the UK. I promise you one thing. If any of you has got this criteria, it's very competitive. We have loads of people applying. But Indonesia is a country that we are very keen to help and support. Get this criteria, and I promise you, you'll get a job in the UK. You can hold me to this promise. It's just the process and how we go through the interview, how we go through the shortlisting, how we go through asking the references, and how we get some more information about you. It's all on the website. When you're in the UK with your induction program, we'll help you with emergency obstetric training packages. The prompt is one of them. You have seen earlier robust. This is a 2-day course. And then there is sort of pastoral care support and daily leaves. You get a certificate of completion. We have in the UK something we call liaison groups. People from a certain part of the world come together in the aspect to support their own people. And we don't have one in Indonesia. I don't know many Indonesians are in the UK, to be honest with you. But we have one for Asia. We've got the Indian. We've got the Malay. We've got Bangladesh. We've got Pakistan. And I don't see why not we have Indonesians in the near future. So the benefits, I'm sure you can see that you will get to understand a bit more about the system. You will have access exactly what I talked about, the associate earlier on. These are the benefits that you can get as being on this team. These are not just all information that you can get on the website. It talks about how There is a matrix what you should be doing in the first 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and a year. By the end of the 2 years, what you should have achieved when you are in the UK. If you want to find out more, you can just go to the website. Any other questions? Anybody wants to ask anything about this MTI scheme? Or about how we can take these ideas forward?
Yes. Is there any limitation of age?
A good question. Is there any limit to age? The answer is no. We are not ageist in any way or shape, but I think you need to put it a bit more practical, because the things that you learn in the UK, to be honest, it depends on your stage in life. You're going to be with peers at a certain age group, so it's individual and how you feel happy to move on. This is just here how you should be a bit realistic. If you're going to the UK at whatever stage in your career, just have some clarity about your expectations. And if you are thinking that you're going to learn all this in just 2 years, I think you really need to be thinking again. I'm just going to leave you with my last slide that has just got something about my address. And if you have got any questions later on that are personal, private, whatever it is, I'll be more than happy. If you just send me an email, say that you are from Indonesia, I promise you I'll definitely with pleasure get into some communication with you. Anybody has any question?
Thank you, Dr. Rani. Any question from the resident? Because this is a very interesting offer from Dr. Hani for the MTI program. Is Dr. Fahmi, are you interested? Or maybe Dr. Nanis? Is there? Yes, it's very interesting.
The corner, that's already past the part 1. Yeah, so give me yeah.
So you would like to come to the MTI program?
Or maybe from the
We are thinking about